welcome to episode 221 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week, he's back, Andrew Orr. So glad for you to be able to make it on the show. How you doing today?
Hey, thank you for me being here.
Yeah,
I'm doing good.
No, it's great to have you. And Jeff Gamet is back. We missed you last week. I know you were at WordCamp. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well, and to echo Andrew's sentiment, it's great that you're here, Dave.
Yes, that is true. And of course, Warren Sklar is here as well in his redesigned basement. How you doing, Warren?
It is also great for you to be here.
All right. I know it is great for me to be here. Yeah. So you can just imagine we have an incredible amount of stuff to talk about this week. iPhone is about to come out, iOS 16.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. You missed it. You missed the whole thing.
I never saw the keynote.
Oh, my gosh. We're going to have to fill you in as we go here. So let's just get into it. There's just so much to talk about, but including some news stories for this week. So let's just dive right in here and waste no time with this. First story I had for this week is Apple's iPhone subscription may still happen in 2022. This is an Apple Insider, our favorite site, as Andrew knows. A monthly Apple iPhone subscription bundle is still on the way, with a package combining hardware and services like Apple One still rumored to be coming soon. Hardware subscription, which would allow customers to acquire iPhones and other items from Apple for a monthly fee, has been floated around in rumors for a while, but has not yet become reality. While Apple has an opportunity to introduce such a service with its iPhone 14 event, it may still make an appearance in the coming weeks after, as they say. So, Andrew, what do you think? I think this is something that Apple should do. I mean, you got the Apple One bundle that I think most of us subscribe to, but I'm already in the Apple upgrade program every year. I'm already getting a new phone every year, but I think this is something that would entice me if it was something that they did a good job with. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this rumor has been making the rounds for 1, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And that is Apple would be bundling hardware with the rest of their services. So Apple One has all their services, and then maybe they would add the iPhone to that. So you would pay maybe a monthly or yearly subscription for all of this. I think that could be good for some people as a good choice.
Yeah.
And I think it is likely to happen eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Is it something that would interest you, Jeff? There's nothing that if they did this?
Yeah, it might. But to be fair, Apple is doing all of this in everything but name.
Yeah.
The last step they need is to create a single line item that includes the iPhone and the rest of the subscription bundle. Mm-hmm. Because Dave, like you said, you're already doing the annual upgrade program through Apple. So you are subscribing to a phone in that sense.
Correct.
And you're doing your Apple Plus bundle. So you've already got that part of the subscription. Apple's already doing this to a degree. So turning it into a single line item subscription, that's just the next step.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Warren, I know you've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, ever since the iPhone 14 was ready to be pre-ordered through T-Mobile. You seem that it does seem to be a better deal in some senses. And I know, Andrew, you just wrote an article about the comparisons of the plans, and I think about it. But what is your experience with T-Mobile? Would it be something that you'd consider if it was the right price?
So I buy my phone outright every year and I sell it every year. You're on the upgrade program.
Right.
I don't know what you guys are doing, but it all comes down to math, right? So, I mean, if the four of us sat down and said, how much are we actually spending in a plus category every year to get the new device, then that's what it's going to come down to. And I don't know the answer offhand. I know the bundle that you do includes, not the bundle, but the upgrade program includes Apple Care Plus within the cost. That's something, that I have to add when I do it. But again, you have to add it up and see. So, if I go through the T-Mobile program now, I get $1,000 for the phone. So I get the exact same new model for a net cost of $200, right?
Right.
And it's, a little bit of tug and war with T-Mobile, as Andrew probably wrote, where you get, I think it's like 500 and change in actual money back. And then the rest is coming in bill credits. And T-Mobile's weird with the bill credits too, because it sounds scary, but then more than once I've called them up and say, hey, can we just, wash this out? And they say yes. And it's kind of like, it's like almost like you got it for free either way. So I've never really went away saying that this was a bad idea, what I'm doing at this point. So, but then, the other point is what's good for Apple. Is Apple going to do it? Does it make sense? Are they going to lose money off this deal? Are they going to make money off the deal? Are more people not going to buy the phones if they do this? So it's a lot to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be definitely going to be interesting to see where it goes. I am not on them. You have to have the Magenta Max a plan with T-Mobile, which I do not have. I'm fine, perfectly fine with the Magenta plan. So I would only get $500.
If you look into it, though, I've felt the same, but I think it paid for itself. If you look at what you get for the Magenta, it ended up being silly not to do it. So we end up doing, I think, probably because my wife travels enough where it made sense.
Sure. And we also, I also have 6 family members, including myself, on our plan. So it's a little different. All of a sudden I raised the price of how much everybody has to pay every month. And why did we have to do that? So the plan's been working good for us. So, next story here is, what we got here. Apple promotes benefits of using the iPhone 14 with eSIM while traveling abroad. This is a big controversy once they announced that the eSIM only in the iPhone 14, amid criticism of some of the customers regarding the removal of the SIM card tray in the iPhone 14, only in the United States, of course. There's a new support article outlining various options and benefits for using the eSIMs while traveling abroad. Apple says an eSIM is more secure than a physical SIM, as we've talked about, and it can't get lost or stolen, all that stuff. The 10S, 10R, and higher are all supporting eSIMs now, so you can do them at the same time. So you just take a look at the articles, and we're going to try to do a more comprehensive discussion about this at some point. Probably not on this show, not on this episode, but we will. But I've been reading some of the support articles already Apple's put up, and I can't see there any difficulty as long as the process works smoothly. Don't you think, Jeff? Again, I know this is some stuff you're still getting information from not being out last week. So, what do you think on this?
Well, I have been doing some research because I've been deciding, do I need to buy a new phone? Do I need to buy a new watch? What everything else that came out, what do I need to get? What don't I need? Here's the thing about the eSIM only in the US. And this is one of the things where I have not been able to do the research yet.
Right.
Is it only in the US because of limited eSIM availability in other countries? Or is this a regulatory thing? If it's because of limited availability in other countries, then that's actually a problem.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that in some countries, it's going to be a problem for people to travel with their iPhone. So while I love what they're doing, I see a problem for taking an iPhone outside of the United States into specific areas.
Well, Apple was smart, and they did include a support article and a listing of every carrier around the world that has eSIM carrier activation.
That's really smart, and
smart, but it doesn't prevent a problem.
No, it doesn't. But
it doesn't prevent a problem. But at least if you know to check this article, then you can make a more educated decision about how you're going to use a phone internationally.
And I can't imagine an article. I don't know if I mean, having traveled overseas, I can't tell you that article is all inclusive because there are so many phone companies that are selling SIM cards around the world. And again, you still get to these countries where you walk in and they have the vending machines of SIMs because that's how you do it. So, I mean, it's, again, taking away something and calling it an advantage when there's no alternative is a problem. But the headphone jack, when I took it away because of reasons, at least there's a pretty decent alternative, which was Bluetooth headphones. But if you're in a country, there's no alternative. If you have a SIM card, you're done. So you're either, not having a phone, or you're getting a cheap Android to do what you need to do. So
get a burner phone to use in whatever country.
But that's just not. I mean, people won't.
That's not practical for a lot of people.
No,
it's not practical for anybody who wants to get a second phone and spend the money for it. It's not practical at all, unless you want the extra phone for some reason.
Well, I mean, what you could do is just, stick with an older phone. I mean, or if you live overseas, you're obviously going to get an iPhone 14 with a SIM tray. What do you think, Andrew? I don't know if you've written anything yet about eSIM, the discussion, but this is something that has definitely been interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. The only benefit that Apple, or that I have heard so far, is, it's more secure because people can't, physically take your SIM card out of your phone. I want to wonder, maybe this is Apple trying to push the entire industry forward again, like it did with, maybe wireless charging or wireless earbuds. So the early stages are going to be rough. And I say that I haven't experienced this roughness. I'm not traveling overseas, but hopefully it will get better.
Yeah.
But how many times have a SIM card been stolen out of somebody's phone? Is there a rapid problem?
Probably not.
I don't know the percentage, but it is a problem. This is called a SIM swap attack. So It is a thing.
Yeah.
I thought those SIM swap attacks didn't need access to the physical SIM card. I thought it was all social engineering through the carrier to get like a number changed to them or something like that. I've never actually. I mean, if somebody has physical access to your phone anywhere, all bets are off, right? If they have enough time to get your SIM card tray out, then they got enough time to do other things too. And that's true of any security aspect of anything. If they have physical access, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the SIM swap scams, though, they don't actually need access to the phone. But you're right. If they physically have your phone, all bets are off. So the way the physical SIM scams work is they do the social engineering and convince the carrier that you've lost your SIM.
Right. And actually, if you take the physical SIM card out, that's actually more of an indicator that you should call your company and change it fast. I mean, you would notice that quicker than you would if somebody social engineered your number for
right.
So I mean, that takes a little bit of security out of it.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah. Well, I think this is definitely going to be another topic we want to talk about future show here, because I think we got to get these phones in our hands and try them. And I'll talk about that in a minute once we get to that. But yeah, definitely something. Next story, what to expect from an Apple event in October, the iPad Pro, M2 Max, and more. Following the September event, the new iPhone and Apple Watch models, Apple does often hold an October event focused on the iPad and Mac. This likely will be no exception. October is only about 3 weeks away as we record this, and pretty much have a good idea that the products are going to get announced. We're going to expect iPad Pros, probably a 10th generation iPad, Max with maybe some more M2 chips, and lots of other stuff here. This is going to be interesting to see where this goes. We always get excited, as all of us being Apple enthusiasts, that something else is going to get announced. And I don't know, Jeff, what do you think? Do you think we're going to have a new iPad coming out here?
Maybe. I think we are going to see a new Mac this fall. I would like to see a new iPad Pro, but Apple does have a track record of doing spring iPad releases, although iPad Pros sometimes happen in the fall. So I'm not convinced yet that we'll see a new iPad Pro model in October. But if I were a betting man, I would put money down on a new MacBook Pro.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Warren, what do you think? 'Cause, you're not you really haven't been an iPad person, so and I don't know what I have no idea what that toy is, but
doesn't Warren have literally every Apple product?
He does.
I have an iPad Mini, and I've definitely been an iPad person. I just the last few years,
I guess I meant that. Otherwise, yeah, you're right.
I bought an iPad Pro and never used it. It was a waste of $1,100, so I got the small one. I don't. If they announce a new MacBook Pro, then it's not going to be much of an announcement because I don't think they're going to. I got the 14-inch and you got the 16. I don't think they're going to change the form factor yet. It's been pretty recent.
Yeah, I don't expect any serious form factor changes for a long time.
They might stick the M2 Max, I guess is what it would be at this point. I'm not sure what it would be. Whatever the successor is. Yeah. So I don't think there's going to be any MacBooks at the event, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be iPads and maybe a desktop.
Potentially that the 10th gen entry-level iPad will finally move to a USB-C. I think that'll be... And they can complete the line of iPads completely off of Lightning.
Well, is the iPad... That's the only iPad... That's the only device with a home button still, I think, right?
Yeah, that too. It could go Face ID. It's hard to say.
Hard to say. If they go to USB-C, then they do need to change the form factor a little bit so that it can support Apple Pencil 2.
Right.
Because that Lightning port, that's how you charge.
That's true.
Pencil.
Yeah, Apple Pencil 1 would have to go away.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
I mean, you can still charge it via Lightning. I mean, I have a new all the accessories still have Lightning, So I mean, it's not anti-Apple to say you have to charge your Apple Pencil with this adapter of a Lightning cable.
Oh yeah, because it comes up with that adapter anyway. You could go plug it into something else that has.
I hated that thing.
That double adapter. Did you plug the pencil and then you had the cable and then plug it into the USB port?
I was like, this thing something's breaking. Either the tip of this thing, Lightning connector is breaking, or something the iPad port's going to break.
So, definitely should be interesting to see where things go with that. Last story here. Apple is actually now providing release notes for AirPods firmware upgrades. We've always been talking about this. As expected, Apple did publish a new support document with release notes for standard AirPods, AirPods Pro, and AirPods Max firmware updates. Going forward, Apple says the page will outline new features and changes included in the firmware upgrades. Well, what a concept. Latest firmware version for the AirPods was released in May. And of course, there's no documentation for that. So I think this is a welcome thing. Don't you think, Warren?
Even if I knew what the changes were, I wouldn't even know what the changes were, to be honest with you.
No, at least give us some idea. I mean, we got the AirPods Pro second gen coming out following next week. Right. So,
but for the AirTags and the headphones, it's you hear if it's a major feature change, and it's not very often. Yeah. And other than that, any kind of release notes would just be gibberish because what else can it do? It's got one input and one output.
Yeah. What do you think, Andrew?
I think it's nice. I hope that maybe either with this release or some future release that updating your AirPods firmware may be as easy as, iOS updates, because as I'm sure, everyone knows, it's been very vague. there have been some articles where you kind of have to do certain tricks to be able to do it manually, like, plug in your case, plug it out, restart it in these certain steps. But that's very confusing. No one's going to do that outside of us. And hopefully, I think it'd be really cool to just, like the iOS update, just press this button to say update the firmware.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we were able to do it with most of the other devices. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jeff?
I think that even though what Warren's saying about the update notes being gibberish for most people, they should still be there because there's the whole transparency thing. What are you doing to this device with this update? That should just be a thing that's there. Right. So Apple gets absolutely no praise from me whatsoever for doing this, even though they needed to.
Yeah.
This is something they should have done from the beginning. And we are how many generations and models into AirPods, and they're just now doing it? Come on. Yeah, they need to do this for every device.
No, I agree. So this is a start anyway. Let's see where it goes. All right, let's move on to topics this week. First off, before we get into beta, I want to start off with Apple did release iOS 15.7 right before iOS 16 was released. It definitely has importance of upgrades. If you aren't ready to upgrade to iOS 16 just yet, you definitely want to make sure you've installed iOS 15.7. I know, Jeff, you tweeted this last week when this came out, and we'll have a picture in the show notes of the release, and showing right below there, also available iOS 16. But there's some pretty serious exploits that are in the previous version of iOS 15.6.1. So go out and upgrade that. Make sure you, at the very least, install that, and you'll be safe. You guys can add anything else to that? What do you think?
I think that we're going to see people confused a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And this happened last year too, between 14 and 15. So
yeah, do I need to install 15.7 and then 16, or can I go right to 16? And the answer is install whichever you want, and you're fine.
Right.
If you want to go to 16, just do it. You don't have to do 15.7. But I think we're also going to see, coincidentally, a current OS update on the major upgrade release day going forward. Yep. And I think that's a strategy to help maintain that the good legal optics of we aren't forcing anyone to do anything. And look how friendly and benevolent we are. So,
no one.
We'll always see some sort of minor update. If in this case, this is an important update for people on iOS 15, but we will see at least a minor update on upgrade day.
Yeah. In fact, I was going to bring up that unless anybody else has any comments on the 15.7. iOS 16 was released for the public this week, but then 2 days later, they released iOS 16.1 in beta. There are some changes to that, but just for your topic, right away, once you get everybody that gets their iPhone 14, there's going to be, once you start it up, you're already going to automatically get an update to 16.0.1 for the iPhone 14. It isn't updating the other iPhones previous. So
Warren, didn't you in the Facebook group give people a warning? Don't install the 16.1 beta on your current phone if you're getting an iPhone 14, which is good advice.
Every year I have to smack myself, my hands, when I go to reach for that beta update. Because
have you heard this before?
I'm good right now. I'm still good. Okay. So I made it.
You're resisted.
Unless something crazy happens tonight, and I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to do it. Which I don't think I'm going to. But yeah, if you upgrade to the beta, you're going to get. Well, let's talk about this, because if you upgrade to the beta, then when you try to restore it to the phone, the new phone won't take it because it's the newer version of the update. It won't show. If you go to your iCloud backup, it will be grayed out. You can't restore it. So you could, so you would have to upgrade the new phone, the beta, factory reset it, then restore from iCloud to get it back to going. And that takes.
That's what you like to do.
No, well, I don't like to spend 2 hours while everybody's playing with their new phone, updating my phone. So, but they also came out and said they released an update for the phone tomorrow already, right? So I don't know what that means, because again, if we're on a later version, if our phone's on a later version of iOS that ships with the phone, there could be an issue restoring the phone back.
I agree.
So I don't know how that's going to work tomorrow. I'm assuming they would get a whole bunch of calls if people got a phone tomorrow and they couldn't restore the phone from the iCloud backups. So I have to assume they figured that part out.
Well, let's hope.
Also, I just want to say real fast on the 15.7. I didn't get to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
That's right. But Jeff hit it. It's confusing. I mean, 80% of the people are going to look at this and say, and call somebody else who might know what this means, because the population, they don't know what that means really. Whether they should I do this or not? Giving them the choice, I think it's a strange move. I think that it's been a while since going to a major update really worked the phone that much, where people are that against doing it. But, again, I think it's confusing. I'm going to get a call from my mom tomorrow.
It is. I really think it is.
Also, just one last thing.
Go ahead.
There was some, I don't remember which iOS update it was, but there was something recently with iOS 15, I think it was, where Apple split some of the updates, where now iPhones will automatically get the most critical security updates for their iPhone. And there's a toggle in settings, and that does say, even if it's turned off, there are some files that will still be updated. Right. And these are separate from those bigger iOS updates.
The other issue also is automatic updates never work either. So, I mean,
seems like
I don't know.
Or it takes forever.
I've never had an automatic update anything, even in the App Store, for the most part.
We all like to force updates right as soon as they come on. But people let it sit until
my
the
family
pushes.
members that have auto updates for everything turned on oftentimes will.
Oh,
what the hell is that? Poltergeist?
Was your light?
Apparently, my studio lights decided they're just going to be bright now.
Yeah, that's a poltergeist.
That's happened to me before.
Yeah, there's a ghost.
That's a ghost.
Yeah. Anyhow, what I expect is that it'll be the same thing that we always get,
right?
Where, seriously, it's just not going to change, even with the remote.
You look fine.
I'm blind though.
He's blind. Yeah.
You did get a little sunburned. I'll be honest with you.
I need to put my sunglasses on. Anyhow, I don't even remember what I was saying.
I don't either.
Whatever it was, it couldn't have been that important.
Something about iOS, something.
Go ahead and address that. So let's go ahead and actually, I wanted to talk a little bit about what is in 16.1 when we get our new iPhone 14s, and then Warren can happily install it. They are making some changes to the lock screen and home screen customizations. They are going to and now going to be an option to choose between customizing either the lock screen or the home screen rather than just the lock screen. To make it easier to customize, and we'll talk about that in a minute here. It's going to have Matter support, which is a Matter accessories section options, which is suggesting that Apple is preparing for the fall launch of Matter as the smart home standard.
So I need clarification on that, please.
Okay.
That's a hardware thing in the new iPhone as opposed to software, because I thought Matter was something that could be done at a software level.
No, what software? It's
software.
Okay. I just misheard. Okay, cool.
Yeah, maybe I misspoke, but yeah.
I'm sure it was me.
We have a link in the show notes here so people can read
Doesn't
through
matter.
this, but oh God, it is definitely going to be some. I'm definitely want to cover this in future shows here for the HomeKit changes, because this is going to be something. It'd be interesting to see where that goes. But there are some updates to that. They got a whole laundry list of stuff here that going through removing Apple Home from the Matter accessory connected services and menu, and the Home doesn't remove an accessory tile and all kinds of other stuff. I won't bore everybody with all that, but that's in the link here in the show notes.
Can't wait to see what breaks for me.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. It also has a clean energy charging, which is going to add a toggle to enable clean energy charging in the battery section of the settings, which will try to reduce the carbon footprint by selectively charging when lower carbon emissions electricity is available.
What? How? What?
Yeah, that's what it says. Apple says.
I'm with you on that, Warren.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It says Apple says that the iPhone will still reach full charge before you need to use it based on your daily charge routine, and the feature can be toggled off if desired. It appears to be enabled by default when you go to 16.1.
So it knows when you're using a more efficient charging method?
I guess it says carbon energy charging. We'll try to reduce. Let's see what it says there. It will try to reduce the carbon footprint.
I think their intent is good, but this is more like one of those non-functional buttons in an elevator that you can push and feel like you're doing something.
Yeah. I didn't even notice. The live, a couple other things. Live Activities API will be re-enabled. It re-adds it for developers for testing purposes. Users themselves won't be able to access live activities at the current time, as there are no apps that support it. You can delete the wallet app if you don't use it. It's going to give you that option. And the one thing that kind of threw me, and I said here, everybody was whining and complaining about that new percentage in the status bar of iOS 16. 16.1 is bringing the iPhone XR and the 11 and the 12 mini and the 13 mini that didn't support it. So apparently they listened. So not everybody likes, I guess there's some people who like it. I have it enabled. I mean, it's not a big deal. You easily just to go down to the control center and you can see it, but okay. And then the screenshot UI, when you close the screenshot editing tool, there's an updated interface in the upper right corner that gives you the option to delete a screenshot, copy and delete or save it. That's pretty awesome. The menu used to be at the bottom of the iPhone, and this implementation will be sleeker, less in your face. Doesn't take up the bottom of the screen. So it looks like there's some pretty good enhancements here, 16.1. But like I said, you tread lightly here, at least before you get over to your iPhone 14. Right, Warren?
Guaranteed it'll be very little difference between the two.
Other than those subtle things that I just mentioned here. So definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes. And as I said, iOS 16 hasn't been released, and already they're getting data here that the iOS 16 adoption rate has been far faster than iOS 15. It's outpaced it in the first 2 days of its release. Again, as we record this, we've only had it installed, 3 days? So we haven't had a lot of, other than folks that have been on beta, haven't had a lot of time that we've spent with it as well. So, but interesting to see where that goes. I mean, I always like to see how adoption rates are, and it seems like iOS always ends up at 80%, 90% rate, not too far off when it's released.
Yeah, super fast.
Yeah.
Last year wasn't as good, if I remember.
Yeah.
We were talking about it, last year's adoption rate was.
Yeah, it was slower. It's still far outpaced adoption rate for Android phones.
Yeah.
Right. But what had happened was 13 was kind of a mess at the launch, and people got kind of scared to do it quickly this time around. But I think last time around it was a good experience. So now people are a little bit.
I think that played into it last time. I think what's happening this time is that there are a couple flashy features that, like widgets on the lock screen, the whole redesigned lock screen.
Right.
I think for a lot of people, that right there is all they needed to want to upgrade on day one.
Yep, I agree.
And I assume the camera must also be a factor, because there have been reports that the iPhone Pro Max and iPhone 14 Pro Max in particular is like there's crazy demand for it.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there is. So, all right. Other releases, I'll get a brief mention here. tvOS has released tvOS 16. Notably, it's got expanded game controller support, cross-device connectivity, user switching improvements, and more. I updated it, and I did notice it's a little zippier. It's going to have some multiple. I think they already had the feature where you can have multiple accounts on there, so you can have a experience with multiple users on one Apple TV. Again, as we always say, there's really not much excitement when it comes to tvOS when they release a new version, but it's there.
Yep.
And then Jeff's favorite is the HomePod. Again, software update again. We always see if it's ever going to fix any problems where it doesn't work properly. Well,
The answer is no.
Is a no. And in fact, this article is very short. It basically says general performance and stability improvements, as Apple says. And don't they always say that every time they release something for HomePod?
They do, but they're lying.
And they're lying, exactly.
Yeah.
So
honestly, the S lady on my living room HomePod, which is an OG HomePod,
yeah.
she sounds like she's trying to mask the fact that she's so stressed that she's about to have a complete emotional meltdown. Like I ask her to set a timer, and she sets the timer, but you know that real subtle thing you can hear in people's voices, where you're debating, should I ask them if they're okay or not? That's how my HomePod sounds right now. I'm actually kind of worried for it. I get concerned when I ask it like to turn on a light or set a timer. Like, am I asking too much of this HomePod right now?
Exactly.
Yes. The answer is yes.
You are asking too much.
Warren, you're right. I think the answer is yes.
You are.
I don't use voice assistants as much as I don't. Very rarely I do because I don't trust them. They never.
I talk to my apartment all the time.
I do some things, but some, like, after living with this stuff for a couple of years, you know what's going to work and what doesn't. So you've given up on things that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of we know it's not going to work.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's the A lady does this, and sometimes she doesn't work, and but I find the A lady is a little more trustworthy than the S lady.
The A lady is definitely more reliable for smart home commands. Yeah. The trade-off is it takes more to set up smart home commands because the whole A lady platform is not intelligent at understanding what devices are.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Lastly, Watch OS 9 was released as well, and that's going to be compatible with the Series 4 and later. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'll do that on a future episode here because there's a fair amount of stuff that was released. Notably, the medications notifications I think is pretty awesome. I want to start using that. I haven't really touched that much, but in the health, where you actually can set reminders of what you're taking and logging your scheduled medications, and a lot of other cool things. So take a look at that article in the show notes.
You're doing it wrong, by the way. I'm sorry.
You're doing
With
it wrong?
medicine, real fast before you move on.
Go ahead.
I've been doing it, and I've been doing it wrong because it's actually on the watch and on the phone. You're supposed to acknowledge that you're taking it.
Right, because it shows in there, yeah.
But you got to swipe down. I'm like, it's just reminded me, and I never knew that it wanted me to do something. So today I'm like, I want to just, and I saw it's like took or didn't take or skipped or whatever. So, crap, that's 2 weeks of wasted time. But
so
well, at least you took your meds, so
that's important. That is important. So before we go into iOS 16, and again, we'll be hitting a few things, and I'll be spanning this over the next few episodes here because there's just so much. I would like to know what all you have ordered, and we've talked about it last week, but just to reaffirm, my iPhone 14 Pro Max in deep purple is going to arrive tomorrow. I got the notification from UPS as well as from Apple. Jeff, what did you order?
Well, my original plan was not order anything and let's just watch and see what happens with these devices. But my Apple Watch Series 8 shows up in 1 to 2 weeks. I ended up buying one yesterday.
Nice. Which color did you get?
Yeah. I went with black.
Okay.
It goes with everything. Yeah. And
I'm so sad there's no blue anymore. I really like this blue I have in the 7.
I probably would have gotten the blue. But it's not a thing. So I went with black.
Yeah.
And what it came down to was I'm still rocking an Apple Watch Series 4.
Yeah.
Which is still a perfectly good watch. There's nothing wrong with it at all.
WatchOS 9 works.
But it works. But there's enough that has happened from the Series 4 to now where I'm like, okay, sure. A couple more sensors. That'll be nice. But the big thing for me really was the battery on mine. It doesn't last as long as it did. So, I get to later in the day and my battery is always, or my watch is always going into low power mode. Now for the phone, I am actually still holding off just a little bit because I went to see how people are feeling about the cameras after it comes out because I have an iPhone 12 Pro. It's a really good phone. It's not even 2 years old yet. So do I really need to upgrade it? I don't. But at the same time, boy, those new cameras are pretty tempting.
They are. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Jeff W in the chat, he says he's getting excited in his iPhone and is going to be showing up tomorrow as well. And Andrew, what did you go with?
Yeah, so my iPhone 14 will be coming tomorrow as well.
Nice.
I haven't gotten the new AirPods Pro yet, but I can see myself definitely getting them eventually.
Yeah.
Now I have the current model AirPods Pro.
Yeah, like I do too.
And I haven't had a chance to do a lot of looking into the new features. Why would I want to buy the new AirPods Pro that's coming out over the ones that I already have? Other than I just want the latest and greatest.
That's why I didn't buy them. And I buy everything.
I mean, there's the noise canceling. And if I still flew all the time, I could see where that could be compelling.
Sure.
But the current Pro does it. I mean, how much more noise cancel can it get?
Well, apparently 2x more.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually a good thing at that point. I don't know.
Well, on an airplane,
yeah.
On an airplane,
I mean,
on my
these
Pros on the
particular
airplane
models, Apple specifically mentioned these things can scan 42 or 45,000 times a second.
Yeah, that's very
for if it detects some huge noise, it's that much faster, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Right.
Sure.
Warren, I know you pretty much got everything except the AirPods, right?
Yeah. I got the watch, and I got the phone. The AirPods, like Jeff, I don't use my AirPods enough. I don't really go anywhere, and I got speakers all over the place in here. Yeah. So I don't use my AirPods as much as
I decided to go with them. I ordered them. They'll be here next week, the following week, from our recording here, and I'm gonna hold tight with the Series 7 for right now on my watch. So I think we'll see where it goes. And
it's funny too what Jeff said about the 4 still being good. There's all these articles now where actually the fanboys are like, the Apple Watch has the same SoC that it's had in last year and the year before. But how much faster does it need to be? That's the problem. I mean,
right.
I've never really, from my 6 on, I've never felt it to be slow at all. So,
yeah, the OG Apple Watch, which I did get, it was slow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't remember if I got the 1. I think it went right to the 2 after that. It was a marked improvement.
Yeah.
And so then I had the 3 and now the 4. And it wasn't like I felt like I was getting better performance on
more
any of
sense.
those.
Right.
Just-
I think between the 3 and the 4, the Moore's law kind of ended for the watch. I think kind of it's like, we're not worried about the speed of the watch because nobody's really complaining about it. And it's true. It wasn't.
And for what you do on the watch, how much more speed does it need?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I mean,
Yeah.
It's that's why this Ultra is catered towards sports and extreme sports, is because
Which
with
totally
the same
makes sense.
processor,
Right.
because there's nothing else they could do on the processor side to make it do anything really that different in there. So they catered it to sports.
Yeah. But there's going to be plenty of people buying that Apple Watch Ultra just because it's cool.
Oh yeah.
What else?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Also, what I was surprised by with, Apple, in addition to the Apple Watch Series 8 and Ultra, they also released a second generation of the Apple Watch SE. And that's, they kind of aim that as the budget affordable model. And it is, because it's the cheapest. But I was surprised because that's still considered, that is still the cheapest model, but that still receives the latest chip as all the other models, the SA chip.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, let's move on and talk a little bit about iOS 16, some of the things that are notable. Again, we won't be able to hit everything, and nor you easily can go take a look at all the new features that everybody's already been talking about, but I want to call out a few things that I kind of thought kind of cool. We just talked about the Apple Watch, so even though I'm bringing this up as the first thing, I really think it's cool to have the ability in accessibility to be able to mirror your Apple Watch to your iPhone. And it's very simple. All you have to do is you go into accessibility, and there's a toggle switch to turn on the Apple Watch so it's mirroring. And then what happens is it shows up on the screen, and you can touch on the iPhone all the controls on that sharing, be able to hit the stem, hit the side button, and be able to move things around and be able to access your Apple Watch. I think the intent, of course, is it's accessibility. So you're going to have somebody that has maybe a little more visually impaired and wants to be able to access their Apple Watch from their iPhone and be able to do it. I think for us who do a lot of demonstrations, I think it's going to be really a game changer for being able to utilize that as a demonstration tool, have it on the screen, as opposed to having all those years of me putting cameras over on my wrist to try to show the Apple Watch.
Right.
But, so you have that, but obviously Apple did it in a sense because of accessibility and visually impaired, maybe motor, not being able to touch the watch that easily, that they can easily do it right from the iPhone. What do you think, Jeff?
Why wouldn't they just use the iPhone if they can't use a lot?
It's accessibility. I mean, that's really what
It's
it is.
accessibility, but you're using a phone that they could use easily.
I can tell you why, Warren.
The only thing would be for to see their vitals, and that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. I think there's probably a lot of people that wear an Apple Watch that can't see the display well.
Right.
Because they want to have notification taps on their wrist.
Yeah.
They want to have lift to talk, and they want to have the biometrics data.
And what I said last week, or what Chuck showed, is they really missed the opportunity with the Ultra, because I think if they made an Ultra screen size for that group that just wants a bigger screen, including the elderly and accessibility people, and us probably too. I'm surprised they didn't come out with just a larger screen, non-ultra, for people for a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, I agree. Any thoughts on this, Andrew?
I think it is, it's interesting. Like Jeff said, it is an accessibility feature. I can't really imagine myself using it, but I'm sure some other people can.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I don't think it's not going to be something I'll be using all the time. in my case, other than if I'm going to be doing an actual presentation or demonstration on the Apple Watch, which will come in handy for
accessibility features for demo stuff. Awesome.
Yeah, so for us to be able to do demos with those who do presentations. I mean, but again, it's not aimed. That wasn't Apple's thought process by putting this into play. It was definitely an accessibility thing. So
it was when they made the iPhone screen. There was a couple apps where you could control your iPhone screen from a Mac.
Right.
And that was good for presentations and training. So similar concept.
Right. So it's come a long way.
Yeah. Another reason why I needed to get an Apple Watch Series 8.
There you go.
Because you can't do this with
the 4.
Isn't it like the 6 and newer, 7 and newer?
It's 6 and newer, yeah. That's
6 and newer.
I saw you trying.
And then I was like, oh, I bet this doesn't work with mine. And then I remember hearing something about limitations. Yeah.
What is it called and how do you do it?
You go into accessibility and then you look for Apple Watch mirroring.
Is it under Apple Watch accessibility or just accessibility?
No, in accessibility, you go into Apple Watch mirroring. It's one of the choices if you scroll down kind of halfway. And it's just a toggle to turn it on. And then when you're done with it, you just turn it off. It doesn't say, it won't stay on, obviously, permanent. You have to turn it back. It'll turn it back off. Or if you close out the watch, they've set it that way. So, but let's go ahead and move on here. I know this is going to be a sad day for Jeff and me as well. That I did link an article in the show notes that Apple did announce that the iOS app for Dark Sky is shutting down January 1st, 2023. So the weather app has added most of those features in the weather app that Apple did a lot of changes to. I know you are sad, Jeff, right?
Yes, and I've been in mourning since like last summer
since they bought it,
because Apple announced that they were doing this, and they announced what date it was going to happen. The big difference now is that there's actually where you get the weather alert showing up below the temperature at the top of the app window. It now says that the weather alert is at the app is shutting down on January 1st. Apple's saying that they have rolled most of the features into the weather app, so it's no big deal. No, it's a big deal because the weather app is not as good as Dark Sky. And what I think Apple should have done is taken the Dark Sky app, skinned an Apple interface onto it, and just used it as the weather app in iOS 16.
Instead, they did it the other way around.
They did it the other way around, which means that ultimately we're losing features, which means that now I'm back to the old days where instead of needing just a couple apps to get all of my weather data, I'll end up needing like 4.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I do have a link in the show notes here, but everything is going to be available in the weather app. So going down the weather modules and temperature, air quality is included, precipitation. So I seem to think the radar is not too bad in the weather app, as they never really had that before. It feels like a module for temperature, which is not a bad thing. UV index. So there's a pretty good
there's definitely good info in there.
Yeah, sunset, and sunrise, and wind, and humidity. I mean, on and on and on. There's just so many good things in here. And then severe. You also can set up the severe weather notifications. There's actually notifications part of the weather app now, which you didn't have before.
Yeah, I think that's nice.
That's pretty cool. And then plus you can incorporate it into the lock screen. I don't have to spend an entire topic on just the lock screen itself. There's so much you could do with it. So I just kind of held off to it on this week's show. The weather widgets are really cool. You can add those little widgets below the clock on a home screen. So, and then it's definitely going to be interesting to see where it goes on iPad as well. Because when iPad OS 16 comes out, the app will be identical once you have that on there too. So the weather app, I think, is going to be really cool. I don't know if you guys had any other thoughts on that before we move off this this feature.
I never used Dark Sky, but I like the changes in the weather app.
Yeah, no, I think they've done some good things. So, one thing I found, and I haven't seen anybody cover this, so I thought this was kind of unique to just kind of mention. when you're doing a screenshot, as we all know, you push the power button, volume up button, and you do a screenshot of something on the screen, it comes up. They did add a few new things within what you can do with that screenshot when you want to share it. And I'll have a screenshot of it itself in the show notes. And of course, you always were able to save it to photos and save it to files. But now they have an option quick way you can save it to a quick note. Because before, what you had to do is you had to send the screenshot with the share sheet over to notes. So now you have a quick button right there to do it. Also, as a copy and delete, which I really love, that is the fact that you just copy and it deletes it right away, so you don't keep saving them, those thousands of screenshots that you have. And then,
like I have,
yeah, like we all have. And then delete screenshot was already there. So notably they added those new features, the quick note and copy and delete. I think stand out as making things a little easier for those of us who do a lot of screenshots. And I think even the common user, I think, tends to do a lot of screenshots too. So
intentionally or not.
Well, yeah, sometimes intentionally and sometimes not, and or not, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially on the watch. How many times have you taken a screenshot on the watch and like, how'd that get there?
Yeah.
Your photo library.
Yeah, exactly. So cool thing to have, and cool, I think it was. Photos and camera can be another topic all by itself. There's just so many changes and added, but I wanted to talk about notably is the live background removal of photos. I was playing around with it quite a bit.
Crap, that is cool.
I absolutely really love it. It's so cool, and being able to just remove and copy and edit and paste it into any place. You can paste it into a message, into a note. I mean, and I was just having a ball doing it. And you sent me one, Jeff, the other day, and I was like, oh, I totally forgot about that. I was like, yeah, it is just spectacular.
You could crop out the ex-girlfriends with ease.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As someone who has done a lot of image editing over the years,
yeah,
I was very skeptical of this feature because, it can be difficult for pros in the pro apps like Photoshop to really mask out the background
right
around something, and to get it so that it actually looks good. I mean, that takes a lot of work. So I went right to something that I consider to be a real pain in the ass, which was a bunch of sunflowers. So you have yellow and green all interlacing. And I tapped on one of the sunflowers, and the next thing you know, there's this glowing line around just the one sunflower. It even picked out the right leaves and right stem.
That's crazy.
And Dave, that's what I sent you.
Yeah, that's what you sent me. I was like, holy crap, that thing is just so awesome.
And I tried another one where I'm like out in the woods and there's trees and a big boulder and all this really complicated stuff around me. And it just cut me right out. And I mean, it did a great job.
Right.
This isn't for super high-end stuff going to replace Photoshop and the special masking tools that you get there. But the stuff that it is doing, even a few years ago, this was beyond what most people could ever do.
Yeah.
We had to zoom in on the pictures like animals, as so close where you could see all the pixels.
Right. Yeah. You would mask out.
You had to draw around the picture, and then you could use your eraser to get the rest of it. Horrible.
Yeah. No, for sure. And then lastly, before we go wrap up, I wanted to touch a little bit on iMessage and some of the changes that have really happened on there, which is pretty spectacular. The first thing is editing. Oh my gosh, it's just so many times. I made so many mistakes. I'm like, oh crap, I got to send another message to correct myself. I meant this. And now you're going to have the easy ability to be able to go in and edit the message very easily. You can undo a send, which is really great. Being able to undo that send and they never got it. You can mark it as unread, which was also a good thing. And you also can recover deleted message. I don't think I remember that ever. They didn't have that feature before. So there's times you've deleted the message and then then it was gone.
Fun fact real fast: if you report something as junk by accident,
I was just getting to that. Yeah,
that's where it goes. I learned that. If So now every time you delete a message out, it says you want to report it as junk.
It goes in that deleted saved area.
But so I reported one as junk and deleted it that I needed, and I didn't realize that I did that. But it goes into deleted. You can
Yeah,
do that.
but
You really did need that Russian bride, didn't you?
Yeah,
that's right.
spam.
The cool thing with the junk, being able to report junk, you weren't able to do it on non Apple Messages, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So you can do it on any message that comes through now. You can report it as junk, and it goes into that filter. So, and it's much easier to have that. So I think it's something they've done that done improvement with that too. So you also can opt to do share player support if you're going to right from within the Messages app, which is great. So you could share a message and be able to also collaborate. So they've added that as well. So no, I think some pretty good improvements when it comes to messages. And I'm assuming you guys have already started utilizing a lot of the new stuff, which, like I said, we've only had 3 days with this, so it's so fresh.
That's fun.
Yeah, but it's cool.
3
yeah,
days.
no, I think they've really done some.
Well, okay, for the rest of us, Warren, it's
Yes,
only been
a few of us have
More like
not.
6 months.
Yeah, for those of us who don't live on the edge like you, but
And
So-
yeah, here I am.
yeah, it still survived. But hey, I'm glad you're able to bring it back to us and tell us what's up. So, but next time we'll talk a little bit about live text and the security and privacy features that have been added. The focus has been some improvements, and probably, like I said, Jeff, you're so good at with widgets. Probably should just have a whole segment on just the lock screen by itself, because there's just so much to cover.
Yeah,
here.
I'm really having to watch myself closely because I could just sit at my phone all day right now and not do anything else except experiment with widgets and lock screen stuff.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts from you guys, Andrew? Anything what stands out for you on iOS 16 of all the things we just talked about?
I mean, we already talked about it, but I really did love the background removal in photos.
Yeah.
Like that's just awesome.
I think that's a consensus of all of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people get how amazing that really is.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's already starting to see YouTube videos of everybody doing it. So, talking about it. So, but we'll all have our iPhones next week. So you can come tune in and hear what we have all to say. Well, not all of us, but most of us. And
Talk about Notification Island. I'll tell you that much.
I held that back until next week because
I have things to say on
Dynamic
on the new
Island
notifications on lock
I call
screen.
it Notification Island because there should be an island just of notifications, and this is it.
So we'll definitely have our experiences. Well, at least Warren and I will next week, and we'll give you our insights with that. But until then, we are going to bring this show to a close for this week. And that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You also can become a Patreon of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios, where we have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like and share and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which usually on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch and listen to all the past shows. Thanks to Jeff W. for being in the chat room this week. Really appreciate it. And you can also live chat with us during the show in that YouTube chat room. You also can read and visit our In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in the show notes. You can subscribe to our show in your favorite podcatcher, including Memer, Pocket Casts, Overcast, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Andrew Orr, thank you so much for being here. We always have insightful conversations from all the things you are covering at Apple Insider. Where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. You can find me on Twitter. My username is @AndrewOrr. And like you mentioned, I'm writing at AppleInsider.com for all the latest Apple news and gadgets and reviews and all that stuff.
I've got your feed all lined up, ready to go. So watch every article you write. So you're doing a great job. We appreciate what you provide us in the Apple community.
Thank you.
Jeff Gamet, as always, so glad you came back, and I'm glad you had a good time at WordCamp. I saw a lot of the stuff you posted, and I'm sure you're happy to be home now. Where can people find you?
WordCamp was a lot of fun, yeah. But yeah, it's always nice to be home. All right, how about Jay Gamet on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and then Tuesdays, with all of you on Mac Voices Live, and then Thursdays earlier in the day on the Big Show, Fridays on the Mac Show, here with you tonight, and the Context Machine with Brian Chaffin.
Just listen to that last episode; it was really good. Go
that
check
was
that out.
a listener suggestion.
It was. So, Warren Sklar, as always, thanks for being here. Where can people find you?
When I'm here on the show, that's good. Sometimes with Tuesdays with Chuck. Other than that, in the basement. Good to see you guys. Good luck for tomorrow, and excited for Jeff's watch.
Yep, it'll be all exciting.
Well, all our new gadgets will be here. You'll hear all about it next week. And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk again soon.